the glorious day to build some muscle. I am Ryan Masters, a Spartan Doctore certified strength and conditioning specialist, and today I've got a special video for you showing you how to do bench press. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, make sure you click the link below to download my free Spartan Body Blueprint. That's going to tell you how you can build a ripped warrior physique in 5 hours or less a week. Now, a lot of guys say they really enjoyed the 3 quick steps I gave you for improving your bench press, and I was digging around and I actually found an older video that I made a while back on how to do bench press. So it's a little bit longer, but you know, when you're looking at improving your form and really mastering these exercises, initially you need to invest a little time up front to really get them down. And then later on you can just come back to the 3-step video for a refresher. All right, so let's dive in. All right, let's talk about how to do bench press. Number 1 exercise in the gym, also number 1 exercise done incorrectly in the gym. So let's go over the core foundation, proper technique that you can use so that you are doing the bench press correctly and setting yourself up for success in the future. Now, whenever you lift bench press or any exercise, before you start, we want to work on just the bar. Even today, even still, every time I go to bench press, I'll do 1 or 2 sets of just the bar. And that's to, again, get the body ready. It's really even before I'm warming up. It's more of a mental warm-up, just kind of checking the form, making sure everything you're about to learn here is in sync and that you're doing it correctly. So keep that mental note in the back of your mind. Also, when you're starting out, trying any of these exercises can be challenging because you have no frame of reference, right? You've never done them before, so it's not like your body's instantly going to know that, oh, this feels right because I'm doing it correctly. You may be doing it right and it just might feel a little weird. So one thing to help you with that is, before you start, I want you to take your hands, and we're going to start with just our palms. Put our palms together, bring your hands kind of close to our chest, and squeeze. And this is, this is squeezing your chest right here. So this is the motion that your chest muscles are going to be going through when you're doing bench presses. You're applying force. Okay, and notice how I said you're using the palms or the heel of our hand. If you switch and go use the fingers, put the fingers on each other and pushing, yeah, you can still feel the exercise, still feel your chest contracting, but what happens is you're bending your wrist back, okay? And we'll see later on the bar technique of why proper bar placement is on the heel of our hand, not on the fingers. Because of that, it's going to transfer a lot of that weight to our wrist, which we don't want. All right, so let's jump in. Okay, so before I sit down, what you want to do is imagine that you're looking forward, you're facing forward, you're getting ready to lay back, and imagine that somebody has their hand in between your shoulders, in your spine, right in between your shoulders. And what you want to do is kind of squeeze your back together like you're trying to crush their hand, or if there's a pencil back there and you're trying to hold that pencil up. So you squeeze, this kind of sets our shoulders in motion. And then we also want to lift the chest a little bit. So we lift the chest up kind of like we're, like a gorilla here. And then lay back. Now I always use my hands to make sure that we don't hit the bar. And use that same motion. That's going to give you a slight arch in your back, and that's okay. We want a little arch. And the contact points would be, our upper back is going to be on the bench. Our head is resting on the bench. We should not be pressing with our neck on the bench. Your head's just resting flat on the bench. It's your upper back where the contact is. And because you've got that slight arch and you're squeezing your shoulders, that's going to tighten up your torso, and it's actually going to raise your chest a little bit, and that's what we want, our chest raised. Our feet, we want our feet solid on the floor, and really our knee should be in line with our ankle. It should be pretty much a straight line going up, and we're actually bracing with our heel. That's where a lot of force and support is coming from, is from our heel. So the toes, actually could lift a little bit, but our heels should be almost like they're nailed down onto the floor. As far as placement, you want a medium width, medium spread with your knees, and then also your feet, again, medium width. Now here you can see I got this funky bench, so it's pushing them out a little bit more, but that's okay. We don't want our feet in like this, and we don't want them so far wide out this that we just have no support. And we want just kind of a medium stance, both with our feet, with the distance between our feet, and also with our knees. So we've got our chest up, shoulders kind of squeezed to the back, laying down with our hands to guide so we don't hit the head,
Upper back is making contact with the bench. Our head is just resting on the bench. We're not pressing our head or neck on the bench. Back is arched just slightly. Butt is totally on the bench. Your butt should never come off the bench, but you do have a slight arch in your lower back. And your feet are in full contact on the floor. Now, I should be lying underneath the bar so that my eyes are on this side in front of the bar. When selecting our grip, we want something 22 to 28 inches wide, and these grips, the tread marks on the bar, are a good place to set your grip, mainly because you want to have even grip on both sides. You don't want to be gripping wide over here and short over here, so use the bar and your thumbs as guidance so that you have equal force on both sides. When setting our grip, because we don't want it on the bar or weight on the fingers or the upper portion of our hand, we want it on the heel or the palm. And so to help really assure that that happens, we grab the bar kind of at an angle like this, and then, or we just put our hands on the bar at an angle like this, and then we rotate and lift. And that kind of will set the bar so that it's sitting on your heels or the palms of your hand. Always have thumb around the bar, full grip, and now we're ready to go through the bench press motion. When we're coming down, it's important that we want our elbows at about a 75-degree angle, 75 to 45-degree angle. Okay, so that's about right here. And we're pushing, again, pushing with the palm of our hand. That's where kind of all the force comes with our chest, just like we did from that exercise. And you can be pushing into the ground a little bit with your heels. That's going to be transferring the force up through your body, through your tight upper back, which is lifting your chest up and allowing you a good form. Now what we don't want is to have our elbows go 90 degrees out like this. This is way too far. That's going to kill your shoulders. You're going to be out of the bench. You're going to be out of the gym in no time if you're lifting like that. Okay, that's not what we want. We want the elbows anywhere from 75 to 45 degrees. It's going to depend, if you're a bigger guy or a smaller guy, length of your arms. There's no perfect degree angle. But we want it so that the bar is coming right about at our nipple line. That's where it's coming down. But don't watch the bar when it's coming down. I'm going to show you here the technique of how to watch the ceiling, so that will help kind of guarantee that you use better form. But again, we should always be doing this just at the beginning of our workouts to really get familiar and comfortable with the form. Elbows at about 45 degrees and pushing through. When you're lying down to do bench, you want to make sure that your eyes are in front of the bar here. Okay, you don't want to be, if the bar is like this when you're laying down, you're in an incorrect position. You should be laying so that your eyes are in front of the bar. And when you're actually performing the bench press, we start and we have the bar. So we have the bar over our chest, and what you do is you pick a point on the ceiling and you stare at that point, and that's what you watch as you do the bench press. You stay focused and zeroed in on that point on the ceiling and move the bar back up and down towards it. Don't follow the bar, just keep your eyes fixed on that point in the ceiling, and that will help you get the proper bar path in range of motion.
Alright, so that covers the basic form elements of the bench press. Now, if you have a shoulder injury, then you can limit your range of motion so that you're not coming down further. Also, it's going to be very important on the angle of your shoulder, on the angle of your elbow. Remember, we don't want our elbows up high like this. Our elbows should be, at about a 45 to 75 degree angle, somewhere around in here as far as when we're coming down from the bench press. The wider grip you take, the 22 to 28 inches is the width that we want. The wider you go, the more pressure is going to go on your shoulders. So if you go beyond that, then you're definitely putting pressure on your shoulders. Don't want to do that. It does shortens the distance you have to lift, so you can put on more weight, and so it may feel like you're lifting more, but the reality is you're not doing the right range of motion. The closer in you go with your grip, the more it's going to hit your triceps, and that's why you'll see some guys doing, grabbing the bar kind of like this or really close, because they're actually doing a tricep workout. They're not doing bench press. And when you're grabbing the bar, mentioned earlier, always wrap your thumb around, so a thumb grip. Don't use a thumbless grip because the bar can slip off and injure yourself. Also, another safety thing is don't use the weight collars if you're lifting by yourself, especially if you're doing heavy lifting by yourself, because if you get trapped under the weight, there's nothing you can do and you can seriously injure or kill yourself. But if you don't have the collars on, you can at least tip the bars over, dump the weight off, and escape that way. It's always better to have a spot, especially if you're doing heavier lifting, but that's a workaround if not. All right, so keep in mind, you're not going to be able to, you're not just going to go into the bench, not to discourage you, but you're not going to go in the gym and like have perfect form the first day. This is just like a muscle. This is a skill and something that you're going to build, and that's why we always do a couple sets of warm-up sets before we put weight on. And really, you should practice. I'd give yourself a whole week of going to the gym and just really practicing and getting comfortable with this form. With no weight on the bars is fine. The more weight you put on, the more it's going to make a bad error. It's going to compound a bad error. So just start off with just the bar, working, really getting comfortable and familiar with the motion. And as you gain skill and confidence in it, then go ahead and stick the weight on and still continually practice, because you can always be getting better at bench. I'm still practicing it all the time. All right, so get in there and get lifting.